Thanks a lot for staying in to a very late session where I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences we have on building AI-driven solutions and architectures with and trying to share some of the experiences that we have on what we do, what we think is important to remember, and maybe give you guys a few tricks on what can help you bring things like this forward. My name is Klaus. I've been part of the SUGCON community for quite some years, based out of Copenhagen. I'm global CTO in Alpha Solutions, where I live in Copenhagen, and try to figure out how we best can meet the challenges of our clients at the moment. In Alpha Solutions, we are a technology agency that tries to solve all types of problems, and say this last generation of AI. I actually think this is my third or fourth speak at either Symposium or SUGCON on something AI. I've been talking about churn prediction and about image generation and lots of different stuff. It's always been dear to my heart. But of course, these last generations of LLM and the empowerment of Agentic AI in sidecores has brought us even a step further. I will start here. That's the most important slide in the deck. We wouldn't be here if we wouldn't have all of these guys. Thanks, Sebastian. He's one of the guys on the first logo. So remember to give them a pat on the back whenever you meet any of the sponsors, because they are the main reason for us being here. A little bit about what I'm going to talk about today. In Alpha Solutions, we do a lot of e-commerce. And one of the things we see in e-commerce business is, of course, that it's very process oriented. So agentic support is a first-class citizen, and when we go out and discuss different types of projects with our clients. So we have for a significant time, probably the last 2 years, discussed with clients on how can we make AI and the capabilities that the LLM AI brings to us. How can we make that a first-class citizen in our enterprise architecture, and how we can approach problem solving differently when we do that. I'll bring some examples from a couple of customers on how we do that on it. So importantly, what you're going to hear from me is something about how we use AI as a component, as a tool. It's not about how we develop with AI. We could spend another couple of hours discussing that. But it's more about how we empower our customers to have AI as a capability. They might not see it. It might just be a different way of handling a process through AI. Often they see it because it actually empowers us to give them the ability to express themselves. Not in logical flows, but with language, because that's what the LLMs can understand. For us, it's a tremendous shift in almost everything we do. How we develop, how we organize ourselves, and also the types of solutions that we do. I don't think I have had a customer conversation the last 12 months and not discussing how AI can process optimize. Gen AI was a couple of years ago, but now the agentic approach towards AI, how can it actually help you improve your processes is much more what we discussed. AI is getting really, really clever. I don't know if you know humanities last exam. It's actually a test. You can take it. It's a test. It's a PhD level, expert level tests in different domains. That there is a group of people that scores the AI models. The reason for doing it is to measure and judge the ability to do AGR, artificial general intelligence, so the AI being as clever as human. And you can see how the curves are actually getting pretty good at it. And none of us, I don't know quite a lot of you, and even though I do, and I hold you very smart, none of us would be able to answer that. It's PhD, but it's actually an interesting curve and it's a constant measure that some people do against all of the new models. And I know I'm slow. 4.7 Opus was out yesterday, and it's not on the graph. I know, sorry. So as I said, AI has been here for quite a while. Many organizations have adopted AI, but one of the things that we think and we see is that the AI adoption is, as we say, it is a feature in a tool. It is something that helps you do a specific process within a specific tool. And the huge problem with that, especially if we go back a little bit, NCPs are trying to help it, is that how do you build context in specific tools? All of us have seen AI translation and AI image generation and all these feature-based AI facilities. But what we really want to do is to transform it into a capability, the brain of the organization, organized differently, handling all of the organizational challenges that brings, but making it a intelligence as a service element in your architecture. So when you start building solutions, you already have an existing starting point for doing that. So AI is not developed on each product and each project you do with the organization, but something that you can establish as a foundational capability. When we see that, we start getting into a lot of the issues of pilot projects can be successful, but they are pilots. Scope is limited. You don't tackle all the problems. How do we scale? All of the challenges of control, drifting, and so on needs to be solved within each of these challenges. And one of the things that we of course see is an example coming here, is that we have an AI system that supports the internal customer service. So we throw a number of documents at it. Really efficient. We've been doing that for many years. But, that sounds good. Let's throw it out to the public, so have them self-serve and be really, really efficient on it. But suddenly we need to start handling things like access control, like who is actually eligible to read what types of documents. So suddenly the challenge, which started out as something, hey, bring some documents, do a rack generation of content out of a set of documents, we start getting into the issues that the answer is really, really not just contextualized on what you're answering, but who is asking the question. So access control and stuff like that starts getting into the mix. We might be inflicting on GDPR, the European privacy legislation, and so on. All of the challenges that we get, we might not have the specific product that these documents are handled to. So how do we then think about problems like that? I think if you've gone to at least 3 sessions in this SUGCON, all of this will be clear. You will have covered all of them already. And there's nothing new in that. My explanation is, of course, that when building autonomous agents, these are the 4 main things that you put into it. The language layer, the understandable intelligence, the one that can come from whatever you are writing to meaning, and can come from can generate you an answer that you can understand. The instruction is the thing that it's the secret sauce that we put into the applications that helps the LLM act as whatever process support we want it to. Acting as a support agent, if you want it to be a support agent, acting as a researcher, if you want it to be a researcher, and so on. Tools, data, actions that helps build us the context, which is started with the conversation that somebody's having you. And the conversation can often be chat related, something you write, but it might also be a conversation that you start by utilizing tools. I'll give you an example of some of that in a little bit. So when we approach this, we working with enterprise organizations, security is almost always the first question. Worse, if you go to the Middle European countries, talk to a number of clients in especially Germany and France, they hate AI. Or at least they have a strict view on data sharing, privacy, things like that on it, much more than we find normally in the Nordic region, where most of my time is done. But it is for sure an enterprise problem that when we have a number of different data sources, we might have different types of users that have access to different types of information. And we want to support that. And if we move away from AI being a capability in a specific system and AI being a capability on the enterprise level, this is something we need to handle. If it is a capability in a specific system and process, hey, we only give it the documents that is relevant for you. If we want it to be a larger capability, we of course need to handle that at a different level. Working in enterprise, we of course also look at it as we cannot replace everything. We want to utilize existing repositories. Zero copy is not always possible, but we want to retain that. We want to retain your organizational systems. We want to build it as a capability, a single security first AI-based layer in your architecture, and we want it to be able to scale. And scaling not only means capacity of run, it means adding sources, adding new content, adding different workflows and processes on it at different points in time. If we take a high-level view of this, I'll get to the more ugly, even smaller boxes and arrows and stuff like that in a second. But if we take a high-level view of this, we organize things. At the top, we have the channels that we communicate with. Might be very public, might be very private, might be orchestrated with a access control, which is on behalf of. If you call a call center, you have a call center agent acting on behalf as you when you access your knowledge bases and so on. So different ways of handling that. Of course, a security layer for all of us that lives in that world, or federated delegated access control and so on is probably pretty straightforward. But underneath that, we have the AI foundation, which consists of a number of different things. It consists, we often materialize the knowledge inside a semantic index. For those of you who don't know what a semantic index is, it is a search engine as you know it. It just utilizes AI to capture meaning instead of words. So it generates a AI model of whatever the document says without looking at the words, but looking at meaning. So whenever, and if you expose that, you can actually talk to it. It is conversational. because you can do the same vectorization as it's called, but you can do the same AI compute on what you're asking it. And the ask can come from an LLM. The ask might not be something you generate, but the ask can be a reasoning from an LLM. So you ask the LLM to do something, it deducts something and needs some information. Now it asks, literally asks, so sends a sentence or paragraph to the search index, which then translates into a meaning, finds the document with the same meaning, or close to meaning it actually is, but that's a small thing. Part of the same engine, and now we're straight into what you have heard a few times if you've seen any of the sessions, we are into other types of tools. So if you want to process support, there are things that we know is authoritative truth. Authoritative truth is not something you should deduct out of sentence matching and meaningful AI. It is something you look up. If I want to know what your balance is from a customer point of view, I'll look it up in the ERP system. So tools for data lookups, but also for operations. So in Sidecar context, this is of course also what the Agents API, the Marketer MCP is exposing in terms of content in Sidecar. But that could just as well be a lookup in your order management system, lookup in your ERP system, lookup of data in your CDP, your CRM, of whatever it is. Because that brings authoritative knowledge up to the LLM and we stop hallucinating. So suddenly the AI can act on core facts and not only deduct meaning out from the context that it tries to generate itself with all of them. And then the LLMs are of course really good using our controlled instructions of deducting whatever we asked it to deduct. Because we have now something where we can find knowledge in our search index and some authoritative truths that we can match against these things. The semantic index is actually hybrid, which means that we can do both semantic lookups, these meaningful lookups, but also hardcore filtering, of course, to support the most important thing, security. So in that index, we know what types of roles are eligible to see a document. So it is simply not part of the result if you're not allowed to see it. Pretty much the same way as Sidecar have implemented a lot of the agentic flows inside Sidecar AI as well. Same principles facilitate for this. I have a drawing with a little more detail. I don't think we need to go deeper into it, but gives a little bit more context on some of the things that we do. Excuse me. We are a huge user of AI Foundry as well as Sidecar is built upon. We use a lot of the same technologies and we do it. It's not a necessity, it just gives us a really good secure framework for doing a lot of the things on an enterprise scale. So it just helps us into doing a lot of those things. Let's move down to a couple of examples of how we have used this. Some of the examples, I think, I'll do a little bit on the chatbot and a little bit on probably the process optimization. Let's see where I started out. I actually started out in a conversation. And what you're seeing here, the screenshot I took, because the purpose of it will come in a little bit. The chat UI, you don't need to see, you've all seen that. This is actually a picture from the back end where we register every chat session. So we can actually see what's asked. So this is the welcome prompt. It's from a Danish airport. I asked how far is it between gate B2 and A2, B9 and A2 in the airport. It actually says there's around a 2 minutes walk between them, and I need to fly to London but want to eat something. What time should I be there? And I want to eat, and it answers you with with when are the flights, and it actually down here it gives you some restaurants that you can eat that is open at the time just before the flight, because it's all part of the context and it's able to do that. If we dig a little bit deeper in it, we can actually see that the answer of flight from Copenhagen to London, it's actually using a tool. There is a flight service that knows the exact flights. It doesn't need to go out and find that somewhere else. We know exactly what it is. We know when it's delayed because it's the system that drives all of the screens in the airport. So we will ask that. So we can actually say that it actually gets information about that because it has deducted that that's what it needs. Same thing if we need the index of the restaurants in the opening hours, it asks the service for it. So all the AI does is figure out what you're asking. And then it is yours using authoritative tools to do that. One of the reasons we are doing it, I'll show, if we get to it, I'll show a couple of screenshots from there. One of the reasons why we record all of these sessions is that there is, of course, and this is this part of it, you can see that we can run with versions. The instructions, which is part of this, the instructions is what we can have different chat agents that are instructed differently to answer different types of questions. Prompting. One of the things we have found out is that this system prompting, the instructions in my earlier slide, evolves over time. The business wants to improve. But how do we actually know whether we get better answers? When we get a new model, 4.7 come out. How do we know if it's better? Is it worth the money of the extra token cost that it has? And so on. So we record and give the ability to play back. So we can generate a new version of the system instruction and say, run this on the 800 last sessions and evaluate whether the response in that is better than the response you got with the current version. And if you do that, could you please set it live in an A/B test mode and evaluate the results of it with, we have thumbs up and thumbs down rating from users on it before we actually set it live for everyone. So gives it and of course, having versions, you can have AI help generate the next generation when you have data to actually give to it to do some of that. Another example I'll quickly jump into is this one. It's a process-oriented flow. And you will see very, very little chatting in this one. It is solving a problem of a large e-commerce customer of ours that has around 1 million components for plumbing, electricians, things like that. Things that a install plumber, electrician uses when they build a house or renovate or whatever they do. These guys get around 200 RFPs in every week with between 200 and 2,000 products in each proposal, and need to figure out, can we deliver this? Do we have the products? There's no uniform format for that. It might be an email, it might be a PDF document, it might be an Excel sheet, could be different things. So that's the problem that this solution tries to solve, helping the organization and the 20 people that does nothing but this, figuring out, and the core problem that it's figuring out at the moment is only, given this proposal, what products should we offer them? Nothing about price, nothing but just which products, if we get this proposal, what should we offer them? It sounds pretty straightforward, but they might have, it might be easy. See, it's probably the next, no, it's probably a slide forward. We see, you see this going out here. We see that in the test material that we run it with for a couple of weeks, we see normally between 60 and 80% secure hits, meaning we can look it up in their search index. We have an e-commerce site for them. There is some sort of identifier that the AI can find. So we'll just load the PDF to it. It will evaluate the first rows, figure out what format is it in, figure out, can I find identifiers? And then we'll shoot those at the search index as the first step, because that is a very cheap process. Analyzing 5,000 products or 2,000 products with AI tokens is bloody expensive. So we try to analyze as little as possible, do as little as possible with the LLM, because it's an expensive way. But if we found identifiers, just shoot it on the search index. It's really, really cheap, really, really quick. And we could normally, the identification is 60 to 80%. But then there might be a number of products where there are alternatives. So we might have 3 different types of the blocks. All does the same job. It has 2 sockets with a switch on each of them. Same sizing, different brands, different. So which of them to sell? Well, based on history, same installer that sent us others. We won when we sold them that brand and not when we sold the others. They're price sensitive, so it's the cheapest one. They might be sustainable. So it's actually the one with the lowest carbon footprint that they want to buy. There are different reasons. So all of that, all of the history and all of the offers that we have won have been analyzed, and all of those elements are put in as intelligence. So we can actually propose things, but it's still a proposal. They can just finally, there are definitely also 3 to 5% in the test set that we run with. We can't find the products. They're asking for something we have no idea what it is. I'm looking for a very specific hammer. No ID, nothing. Just and the actual term of it might not be that hammer. The terminology of it is very specific to the trade. So we might not be able to find it. We might not be able to web search ourselves for it, because that's the second step in the process, which is somewhat cheap. So there are different ways and different mechanisms of how to handle that, all running on the same platform as the chat agent actually was doing. Because now this is just each of the sessions is this one. So when we get an improved LLM, we can run all of the old offers through it, figure out, is it worth? Do we get a higher percentage match? Do we get better results? The ones we lost, will they propose the same or something different, which matches better with the ones that we want? So that's definitely one of the things that the learnings that we have working with AI, which is a non-deterministic technology, is that when you think about building solutions driven by AI, gaining history and giving yourself the ability to rerun and evaluate is really important, because it makes you able to generate new versions, whether that is due to Claude and Anthropic coming out with a new version, or whether it's being business, being a little bit sharper on the instructions on what it is that we actually want to tailor this. A tremendous learning for us on doing that. What does that then do for someone like us? With the way we approach things, most of you guys probably know something similar to this model, where you have a number of people involved, from understanding the problem to developing the problem to delivering the solution, which takes time. We all lived in that world for a long time. But what we see now with a AI-driven process engineering, a lot of the hard work is in the instruction engineering, the prompt engineering on how can we guardrail the LLM to understand what problem it tries to solve. Suddenly, that is just human readable and writable text. It is not logic. It is not process. It is not low code. It is writing text. So we can actually give that to the hands of somebody else, which means that I wanted to stay on that, which actually means that we can do adaptations. We can generate a new version of the system prompt and the instructions, run it through a test, validate that it's actually better than the previous one, and put it live in hours. Not in days, not in weeks, not in months. So the generational speed that we get in adaptability, but it of course requires that we build a framework around evolution with it. It's not a static system, it's a system designed for being versionized and improved all the time. So that's probably the second learning of it. AI improves so much so quickly that planning for evolutional, also evolutional that you might not control in time, is really important. And the understanding of what it can do from the business process owners as well gets better and better. Let me see what this one. Looking at time, this is an example of the system instructions for this one. It's a Danish customer, so all of you, of course, take out your favorite AI and translate it from from the window. It just says, "Hey, so you are a technical, product knowledgeable assistant that is." That knows everything about these products, and you have these services at your proposal where you can find information. But else, you need to support the process of figuring out what is the best product for a specific client that have sent you information. Start by extracting, and then go through all of the products and give the UI for it. Part of what we do here, we also move into the more flow-oriented. So see it as the same way as Sitecore is doing their agentic flow support. There's been a couple of sessions on that as well, where we actually start being knowledgeable about the process that we want to do. We want to go website search first because it's cheap. We want to go, next step we want to go, so we do that as agent handoff. So we have smaller agents that process specific things, and then we tie into the process around that. Which might mean that when we bring the context, and the context is, of course, for those of you who have worked technically in Sitecore for years, you all know pipelines. So we hand off the result of a previous process to the next one, so we can pick up work and improve with the methodology that I'm set off to improve with. So the separation of concerns, all of the mechanisms that we've always known from how we have developed Sitecore solutions is completely the same. It's the same mentality, but instead of us programming the pipeline processor is instructed to run specific things that is understood by an AI. So it's not expressed in C#, it's expressed in human language. But else, pretty much the same. I think I'm getting pretty close to my end. Ending on what we see as the most important thing of us as technology architects and technical organizations in processes like that. It is definitely to figure out the landscape of our clients and figure out how can we best enable that landscape to be part of processes like that. Generating MCP servers in the right granularity. Honestly, I hate the marketing MCP server. It has way too many tools. For me, it should be split in several ones. The LLMs have a hard time figuring out which tool to use when there are 42 of them. So we design MCP servers with really small scopes, and then we just add more of them. Because we can then add the tooling to it So we actually save a lot of processing time in selecting tools, which is what the LLM does when it tries to do something, and directing it to much more specific elements. I think Sitecore did a good job on the marketing, our Marketeer MCP server, on focusing on jobs to be done granularity of each of the operations. But I think the MCP server as such should be split in probably 3 or 4. Would be my. But it's hard to figure out what do we need in one context and what we do in. So I get the point that being a wide system, it's kind of complex. But I would still say that's something to consider in the future. So we see when we go in and work with these processes at our clients, that's actually what we do the most is figure out which tools we need to be available from the rest of the do we need the ERP system to be a tool of truth in whatever process we are doing? Is it the order management system? Is it the warehouse management? What is it that we need to provide to solve the problem that we are? Develop that and make sure we deploy that in a secure and orderly manner together with the element. And then it is actually more up to the business to run validation, tooling, generational evolution on, because a lot of that is expressed in human readable languages. I'll end on that one again. Thank you to everyone, and hope you had a great time at the SUGCON this time as well. And thanks to the guys in the green shirt.